Welcome back to another episode of the A Better NFL Top 100. I already did number 100 through 90, so if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. It's on this channel. But today we'll be doing number 90 through number 81. That's where we will be going. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. Number 90, Kevin Byard, the safety of the Tennessee Titans, who I'm just going to be honest, I didn't think had his best year last year. Now, his numbers were still great. He had over 100 combined tackles. He had 4 interceptions, but, box score stats of safety is always a difficult way to measure how good they really are. I didn't think he had as good of a year as he's had in previous years, but he's still Kevin Byard. I mean, again, previous years, he had been the best safety in football. So, number 90 is maybe some people will feel like a bit low on Byard, but again, a lot of good players in the NFL. I think he's definitely someone a great, sort of that pure free safety guy who does a lot for Tennessee. So I put him at number 90. Next up is Budda Baker, another safety. This one of the Arizona Cardinals, another guy who had over 100 combined tackles at the safety position. Again, someone who I feel like Budda Baker's kind of box score stats tend to be very good. Has had 7 interceptions the past 3 years. Has 5 years in a row where he's had at least 98 combined tackles. But like I said, box score stats for safety not always the best metric to use. And some of his PFF grades and stuff aren't great. But I just think that when you're a safety and you're playing for a team that's doesn't have the best defense, it makes you look worse in comparison. When I watch his film, I still think he's great. So I have him here at number 89. Number 88 is going to be Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler, a guy who, here's a weird stat. Austin Eckler's never had 1,000 yards rushing in a season. He is coming off of back-to-back 900 yards rushing seasons. The reality is he's never a huge volume rusher. He's obviously someone who great fantasy back. He's had 25 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons combined. I mean, that's a ton. 13 last year and 12 in 2021. And obviously is a guy who, catches the ball very well out of the backfield. So when you factor all of those things on, he's not just the guy who runs in between the tackles, although does have a 4.6 yards per carry. So pretty good there too. Just a really good all-around back. Next up, we have Dallas Goedert, a guy who, not a lot of tight ends made this list. In fact, he was number 4 on my tight end rankings, but still is lower on the list here at 87, which is, hey, being on the list in general, it's not easy to do. You're a very good player if you're on the list. But I think he's a really effective player, kind of a good all-around tight end. There's no real negative spot in his game. He's had, he had 700 yards last year, been a pretty consistent, like 600 to 800 yard guy over the course of his career in Philadelphia. Since his rookie year, he's had over 500 yards every single season and over 600 yards in 3 out of those 4 seasons. So just been a consistent player. Is he the superstar name? Maybe not necessarily, but I think he's he was a really good third option for Philadelphia last year. I think means a lot to that offense. So I think, checks every single box. He's here at 87. Number 86, I have Rashan Gary, who is someone who I do think that you could argue he should be a lot higher. The thing about Gary, so, Green Bay Packers edge rusher, he's a guy who his, first 2 years, he wasn't very good. But his third year, he was elite. Like, he was legitimately like a top 5 edge rusher in football after that third year. And it's like, okay, here we go. He's now taking the next step. He's going to be, making the top 10 on this list. Well, didn't quite work out there that way. Took a step back and also got banged up. So not quite what he once, what maybe we thought he could be from 2 years ago, but still an incredibly effective player. And there still is the hope that he could go back to that guy he was just 2 years ago because he is so young. Incredible athletic player and, belongs on this list, maybe belongs higher. But for now, this is where I have him. Number 85, give me Aaron Jones. This might be a hot take to have him on the list. I feel like people have kind of forgotten about Aaron Jones, but he's still been good. Like, all his advanced metrics are still just as good. Like, okay, listen, he was in a tougher situation last year, couldn't make a ton of the splash plays we're used to seeing from him, but he was still, like, I thought before Christian Watson kind of in the second half of the year for Green Bay kind of became that deep threat, Jones was really the only home run hitter for the Packers, which in terms of their weapons, which was really kind of interesting. So fascinated in seeing how he does in the post-Rodgers era, but I still think he's very good, and I still give him a spot here on the top 100. 84, Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals is a player who, he's kind of one of those guys where when the Bengals signed him, I think a lot of people thought this could be a tough one. He kind of has, good box score stats, but not the best advanced metrics. And something weird's happened where his advanced metrics have just consistently gotten better year after year after year. And he had probably his best year in terms of advanced metrics last season. So he's someone who, I don't know if I had him on this list last year. I'm pretty sure I didn't. And I don't think I would have ever had him on this list prior to this year, but I think he's actually in some ways had his best year. So yeah, he's on the list. He's number 84. Number 83 is a quarterback, Tua. Tua makes this list. Not the only quarterback that we'll be talking about in this video. Tua makes the list at number 83, who, again, there's some knocks on Tua, right? The injury stuff is concerning. It is to me. And I do think that you could maybe say he was in a great situation, but I thought that what he did in that situation was fantastic. I thought he did a lot of great stuff to make that situation better. And he really took advantage of that situation. There's a reason why when Teddy Bridgewater, who's a good backup, came in, the offense just did not look the same. Tua was a meaningful part in that team. So I have him here at number 83. Number 82 is Micah Hyde. Weirdly, I have a decent amount of safeties making this list, but a lot of them kind of make it lower on this list, sort of in the bottom 20, I guess, 80 through 100 range. Several safeties are here. Micah Hyde, Buffalo Bills safety, who I think is really good. A really, kind of do-it-all caliber safety who means a lot to that team. And for a team that likes to run a lot of different schemes, he is definitely someone who can do a lot of different things for Buffalo, and part of what I like about him. So yeah, he makes the list. He's here at 82. 81 is Matt Stafford, who I think some people will argue with this placement and say it's too high. Some people might argue and say it's too low as well, which, I guess that would be if that happens, then I feel like I nailed the placement. But I think some people will argue with Stafford. He did not have a great year last year. I don't know how you argue against that. He didn't have a great year last year, but I'm willing to say that he was banged up. It was a tough situation with the Rams. I still think he's very good, and I still think he's, kind of what he was, how I felt about him last year, which is he's a very streaky player. He has his ups and downs, but I think his ups make up for the downs, and so I still have him here at 81. Speaking of ups and downs, who do you think is too high or too low on this list? Let me know in the comments below. I will be back tomorrow with the next edition of this, doing this every day. So yeah, going ahead here with the next 10. So that will be 80 through 71, and then we'll keep going until the list is complete. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.